Good morning, Big Ten fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Ten Morning Minutes. I'm your host, Michael Chen. It is Friday, February 22nd, 2019, heading into the weekend. A couple things going on. Not a whole lot of action yesterday, but get you caught up on everything that happened off the court and the field yesterday. I'll start off with Ohio State. Ryan Day loses a commitment in his 2020 class as running back Darvon Hubbard from Arizona. He has decommitted from the Buckeyes, and although this one is unfortunate for Ryan Day, in Hubbard's statement, he did say that he committed to Urban Meyer, and it was a dream to play for Urban Meyer. And with the staff turning over, obviously Meyer retiring and Day taking over, Hubbard just didn't see himself as a fit. Apparently, Ohio State's coaching staff had been out to Arizona, and they have a quarterback commit in Jack Miller, who is in the state as well. They visited Miller. They did not visit Hubbard, so I think that kind of gave Hubbard an inclination of how the new current staff viewed him. Hubbard does say that he will still consider the Buckeyes, but typically when you see a decommit like this, you don't normally see the school get back in it. You did see it this year with Michigan being able to get a decommit and then get a commit right back. And you don't see it very often, but in all reality, though, you have to look at the fact that it's unfortunate, but Ohio State's got plenty of time. National Signing Day for that 20 class is almost over. It's a little less than a year away, so they've got plenty of time to pick up the slack and get another running back commitment in the class. 24/7 Sports came out with their updated NFL mock draft for the first round. It's been pretty consistent as to who's going where with a couple players, but there's a couple new names popping up to it. Again, Nick Bosa is projected to go number 1 to the Arizona Cardinals. Rashawn Gary going to Tampa Bay at 5. Pretty much every mock draft you'll see, you got Dwayne Haskins taking over for Eli Manning, going 6 to the New York Giants. But this one's a new one. This is as high as I've seen. It was T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end from Iowa, going 8th overall to Detroit. I knew he was a first-round pick. I did not realize that he was that highly regarded. I thought he would go a little bit lower into the teens. But wow, what a rise! And like I said, all throughout the football season, in my other podcast, the both of them are first round picks. They're just waiting to happen, and it looks like that's going to happen. That you got Devin Bush going 14 to Atlanta, and then there's Noah Fant at 30 to Green Bay. So Iowa's going to get 2 first rounders, albeit tight ends, but still very impressive for them to get 2 first rounders. Pretty much 3 teams. You're looking at Ohio State, you're looking at Michigan, and you're looking at Iowa that are getting 2 each first rounders in. So that's 6 total players out of the Big Ten. And then if you take a look around kind of the rest of the first round, it's definitely heavy SEC. So you can see where the NFL says this is where the talent's coming from. Majority, you're looking at SEC, and then Big Ten is, and pretty much everybody else is a distant second, unfortunately. So in order to bridge that talent gap, they're going to have to recruit better, and I think that has kind of started. I think that it's on its way. We saw a much better recruiting effort out of the majority of the lower schools. It's not the top schools typically. We're talking about the lower schools of the Big Ten. I thought they did a much better job, a really, really good effort from them this past recruiting cycle, and I hope to continue to see improvement for them as well. And you just can't match the SEC. I mean, unfortunately, the SEC's got a lot of clout with a lot of Southern kids, The majority of the commits and the majority of the players are coming out of the South. So the SEC has a definitive advantage there, but we're catching up. Big Ten's catching up. They're on their way. Off to the hardwood. Michigan State already out without Nick Ward with that broken hand that he suffered on Sunday. Kyle Ahrens is now questionable for the game against Michigan this weekend with a back injury. So we'll keep that monitored as Michigan State, they need, these are big-time contributors on their team, and they cannot afford to be missing two of them in Ward and Ahrens. And looking on the other side of the state, Xavier Simpson has been nominated as a semifinalist for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. So that's a top 10 defensive player in all of the country. So Simpson is being recognized nationally, which is very impressive. He's not the only Michigan player, obviously, being nominated for multiple awards. You've got Iggy Brazakis as well being nominated. I mentioned that he is a semifinalist for the Karl Malone Award. So there's a lot of good stuff going on for the University of Michigan basketball program right now, and kind of bouncing off of the Simpson being named for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. The Michigan Wolverines rank in the top 3 defensively in all of the nation. And staying on the hardwood, although it's not a Big Ten thing, it's an NCAA thing, or actually an NBA thing. This one I think is going to impact a whole hell of a lot of things going forward, as the NBA has proposed to dropping the age limit for incoming players draft eligibility from 19 to 18 years old. So this brings back the possibility that high school seniors can go into the draft. So although it's not going to be a lot of players that are going to end up doing this, because I think a lot of players have seen the bad stories about players going on to the NBA, and then obviously, they make their money, but they don't really become the players that they thought they were going to be. So I think that ultimately this is a good thing. I'm going to go back and harp on this because I, for one, have always been a proponent of doing it the way baseball does it. I think they do a fantastic job of it. You have the opportunity to get drafted immediately out of high school. If you do not get drafted, you have to go to school for 3 years. Now, I don't believe that the NCAA would want the 3-year option. I think a 2-year option is much better. Gives them an opportunity to get through 2 years of school because it's a commitment to school. And then as well, you get a year and a half of being in a strength program, getting some good coaching. Because, look, let's be real. A high school basketball player who goes to college for the one and done, they're not really in school. You're in school for 5 months pretty much. You're in for 2 semesters, and then you're going off training, getting ready for the NBA draft, etc., etc. So you're really not a student. You're more of a passerby. And I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like that. Being a student athlete's not about coming into school for 5 months and then going off and doing something else in professional sports. So I think a commitment of 2 years is fair if you opt to go into college as opposed to getting drafted right out of high school. So we'll keep this monitored as to whether or not the NBA goes back to the original rule that they had, or if they stay with what they have right now, which I think either one of them works, but I do like the fact that you give the kids opportunities to go take care of their families if the situation is one in dire need. I think a lot of these players have, they've got the good heads on their shoulders and they know what they're trying to do ultimately, but it is difficult because, sometimes family situations give them the opportunity that they need to go and they need to make money for their family to take care of everybody. So I completely understand the anguish sometimes of the ability to not go and make a dollar, especially in this day and age where you see plenty of people, young people, making absorbent amounts of money without necessarily having to go to school. So I do like it. So we'll monitor that. And that's going to do it for this morning's edition of the Big Ten Morning Minutes. I've been your host, Michael Chen. Happy Friday. We'll see you on Monday, Big Ten fans.